Alright guys, Wes here, welcome back to the channel. So as many of you guys may know, I've been huffing on the Hogwarts Legacy DLC copium for months now. Basically ever since this game came out and the developers stated that they had no plans for DLC, I've been staying up to date on the latest news, basically just waiting for plans to change, because in my defense, this game was the best-selling game of the year, selling 24 million copies, and with how much demand there's been for a single-player DLC, it seems pretty insane that Warner Brothers wasn't going to give Avalanche the green light to make something. Sure, they have the sequel in development, and there's probably a lot of work they have to do in order to move the game over to Unreal Engine 5, but the lack of a Hogwarts Legacy expansion has really puzzled me up to this point. But lucky for you guys, we have our first official update in a long time from Avalanche Software, and it actually seems to suggest that there is something in the works for Hogwarts Legacy players, and it's looking more and more like we won't have to wait until Hogwarts Legacy 2 for more single-player Harry Potter content. We have a lot to talk about, so check the video chapters for easy viewing, and without further delay, let's get into it. Real quick guys, this video is sponsored by Morgan & Morgan. When you're seriously hurt, your injury could be worth millions. Insurance companies often lowball clients' claims. Morgan & Morgan will fight to get you the money you deserve. Morgan & Morgan has more verdicts than any firm in America. Insurance companies know it, now you do too. The firm does not settle for lowball offers. Just in the last couple of months, Morgan & Morgan saw verdicts of $12 million in Florida, which is 34 times the highest insurance offer, 26 million in Philadelphia, 40 times the highest insurance offer, 6.8 million in New York, 25 times the highest insurance offer, 8 million in Florida, which is 24 times the highest insurance offer, and $18 million in Atlanta. The firm is not afraid to go to court to fight for the biggest award possible to compensate you. All law firms are not the same. Morgan & Morgan is the biggest for a reason. They've won a lot. It only takes a few minutes to see if you have a case. The fee is absolutely free unless you win. So just recently, the official Hogwarts Legacy Twitter account posted an update that read like this, and I quote, "As we near the official 1-year anniversary of Hogwarts Legacy, we wanted to let our community know that the Hogwarts Legacy PlayStation exclusive content will be available on other platforms later this summer, along with, quote, additional updates and features for the game. Stay tuned in the coming months for more details on what's going on with Hogwarts Legacy later this year." Now, the main reason for tweeting this out was the PlayStation exclusive content is finally scheduled to go live this summer. Now, I was expecting it to be a little bit sooner than that, and that's mainly because we are coming up on the 1-year anniversary of Hogwarts Legacy, and I totally expected them to drop it near the 1-year anniversary. However, they decided to push that to summer, which is very curious. Not to mention, they said that they're doing additional updates and features for the game, so maybe this summer is when we're going to be getting a big DLC finally added to Hogwarts Legacy, but we'll talk more on that in just a bit. But in case you didn't know somehow, there's a quest in Hogwarts Legacy called the Haunted Hogsmeade quest that grants access to the Hogsmeade shop and shopkeeper cosmetic set once you finish it. So yeah, super exciting for the people that are on other platforms like the PC and the Xbox and Switch. Hopefully you guys get to play that quest because it is really solid. Now, like I said, the big piece of news from this official update from Hogwarts Legacy's Twitter account was the apparent suggestion, and honestly, I call that just a straight up teaser, that more content is coming to the game. Now, reading over Avalanche statement again, they rather explicitly say that in the coming months, there is going to be quote unquote additional updates and features coming to Hogwarts Legacy, which is the first time since the game launched that they promised new content, even if that's in the form of just small updates and features that improve the quality of life for the game. Now, after Hogwarts Legacy came out, Avalanche said multiple times that they had no plans on releasing any additional content for the game, and it was widely believed that this was due to the simple fact that the game had wildly overperformed and the team just wasn't prepared for it. Avalanche Software is not a very big studio. They didn't have a bunch of teams working on various aspects and ports of the game like other AAA studios do, so once the original version of the game came out, it was basically all hands on deck for the PS4 and Xbox One ports, and then they had to sit down together and do some actual wizardry again for the Switch port, and all while that was happening, they were trying to do bug fixes for the game and slowly start working on plans for the sequel. The publisher and the studio both did not expect Hogwarts Legacy to explode the way that it did, so they weren't expecting there to be much of a demand for DLC. But then the game went on to be the best-selling game of the entire year, and naturally, a lot of people want more. The fact that the Hogwarts Legacy team is now preparing people for updates in the coming months, and we're coming up on the 1-year anniversary of the game, sounds to me like we're going to be getting an official confirmation in the very near future of some kind of DLC or expansion. Maybe it won't be coming out this year, but we could be looking at the Shadow of the Erdtree situation where the developers confirm the DLC is in the works around the 1-year anniversary of Hogwarts Legacy, the same way From Software did things with Elden Ring's DLC, which was again the 1-year anniversary of the game's launch. Hogwarts Legacy first launched on February 10th of 2023, so we're just a couple of weeks away from the 1-year anniversary. Granted, this update from Avalanche says that updates are releasing in the coming months, so maybe we won't get the DLC announcement next month, but there's almost certainly going to be some sort of announcement next month for the 1-year anniversary. And honestly, my biggest hope is that they announce some sort of DLC is happening. I would prefer an expansion, but I would be totally fine with just a small DLC that adds new cosmetics, maybe some new spells, map locations, and of course more story content. Now they could also do something smaller just to justify being a free update, but also be big enough to get people back onto the game if they did end up putting it down in the later months of 2023. So that way, whenever they do announce the DLC or an expansion, the public's interest will be at a high point. So yeah, to briefly recap, I'm hoping we get an announcement sometime next month that announces either a DLC or an expansion, and then in the summer they just give us a smaller update that kind of prepares us for an expansion that will release sometime in the holiday season. But again, this is just speculation, a lot of copium on my end. But honestly, after God of War Ragnarok, developers have said multiple times that there was no DLC planned just to give us DLC, like I am totally on board and willing to believe that Hogwarts Legacy will get some sort of DLC. Now, some have argued that it's a little late for Hogwarts Legacy to be getting any DLC, and I'll admit I was one of those people for a while, but in my defense, that was also before we knew the sales numbers, which are completely nutty. I mean, guys, 24 million copies, outselling Call of Duty, Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and of course there's no GTA or Red Dead game, which again is just wild. Now, if you remember right, From Software announced their first Elden Ring DLC about a year after the game came out, and that was a really long time to wait for a DLC announcement, but it was also Elden Ring. Most of us were in agreement that Elden Ring was a special case because it was the most awarded game of all time, and it was going to remain relevant for years to come, which is still true, as evident by the people still talking about it and still waiting with bated breath for DLC updates. Hogwarts Legacy just didn't seem like it would have the same kind of staying power, but now we know that it was the best-selling game of 2023 and still has a pretty huge community coming back month after month, and that's insanely impressive for a purely single-player game, especially one that doesn't have the greatest replayability. Warner Brothers and Avalanche Software are already working on the sequel, but again, they would be crazy to not put some kind of effort into more content for the base game so that way that they could keep people's interest during the wait for Hogwarts Legacy 2, and it seems like that's finally happening. Like guys, the copium has turned to hopium, and it's all really exciting. Now, another possibility that they could do for additional updates is the New Game Plus mode that I think a lot of us have been asking for quite a while. Granted, it seems like the developers aren't on the same page as a lot of the community, as releasing a New Game Plus update would take a little bit of time, even though I think it's just like a difficulty update with different attack patterns, attack timing, and just stuff that makes the game feel a little bit fresh. Like, you don't have to have a New Game Plus mode that overhauls the entire gameplay experience, but I think something as simple as changing some of the attack patterns, making the bosses a little bit more difficult, allowing you to go in with whatever armor you want to, with different unforgivable curses near the start of the game, so that way whenever you start your playthrough, let's say you choose Slytherin and you want to be a dark wizard, you could actually start the game with Avada Kedavra like from the very beginning. Maybe add like another tier to the speed options for the broomsticks. There are honestly so many possibilities that a New Game Plus could add to the game to help with the replayability, but I'd be fine with just getting like a hardcore mode that again changed up the attack patterns as well as I guess the defensive patterns for some of the other enemies, and just make the overall game a little bit more difficult. Regardless of what this new content ends up looking like, I know a ton of people are absolutely stoked to see it. Hopefully there ends up being some kind of major announcement in the near future, maybe at the rumored upcoming State of Play, where Avalanche confirms a DLC and or an expansion is in development and then puts out a big anniversary update that comes along with some cosmetic content, bug fixes, maybe even New Game Plus mode. But no matter what the new content looks like, I will absolutely be there for day one. Hogwarts Legacy is a showing of what can be done when a talented group of developers are given the time and space they need to make something awesome based on an IP that is already well respected and super popular. It's the reason why it was the best-selling game of last year. There are plenty of areas where Hogwarts Legacy could improve on, but I guess that's what the sequel is for, and Hogleg 2 has an amazing blueprint to work off of. If we're getting single-player DLC for this game, I will be hyped, and I know a ton of you guys out there will be as well. So let me know in the comments what kind of DLC you guys want to see for Hogwarts Legacy. For me, it's got to be something to do with the Black Lake. Give me a water mount, and let's go swimming with some mermaids. Did you know you could start a claim with America's largest law firm in just a click? It's so easy. You could start your claim now with Morgan & Morgan at forthepeople.com/WesNemo. And thank you so much to Morgan & Morgan for sponsoring today's video. Well, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate you guys supporting today's video sponsor. I appreciate you guys a lot. Thanks so much for watching. Hit the like button, subscribe with your notifications turned on. And until next time, this has been Wes, and I will talk to you guys again soon.